Hey everybody, and welcome to another installment, another edition of Work Your Career Wednesday. I'm Bradley Clark, and so thrilled and so honored and blessed that you decided to join us today. And we have, if you can hear her in the background, that's my dog, that's Shelby. But anyway, we have a very special show today. What I call the HR Super Panel, right? And we're going to talk about so many things, but before we get to that, we've got to talk about White Husky Films. If you have anything and everything connected to video that you want documented, get in contact with Steven Saldana. The number is on the screen, or you can always visit us at www.whitehuskyfilms.com. Dream, create, record in that order. And when you choose White Husky, you will be so glad you did. And guess what? We have another sponsor. Can you believe it? I got to tell you, this one's really, really special because you're going to recognize the person that, I just cracked my knuckles. The person that's on the panel with me today, Karla Tai. She has a brand new endeavor called Bow Tie Creations. Let me tell you something. I'm a dessert guy. I love desserts, cheesecakes, and I mean, can you tell, right? Let me tell you something. Karla Tai is probably the best baker that I know. Her creations are incredible, and she's going to have a pop-up later in the month. I'm not sure with the date, so I don't want to be off on the date, but I will tell you that be on the lookout for Bow Tie Creations. If you're a cheesecake-holic like I am, or if you like, anything connected to desserts, you're going to want to get in contact with her. We'll put her Instagram on in the body of this video, and get in contact with her. She is amazing. And when you see the creations, I can't even call them desserts, but when you see the creations that she does, you're going to want to order all the time. So now, without further ado, let's talk about the show. So today we have the HR Super Panel. I got Pearl Jones, just a pioneer, okay, in the field. And Nicole Adams, she is, from the Oakland area. She's been on the show before. Incredible HR, incredible perspective. Now she's into AI, really tries to utilize DEI and ESG, and so we're going to get into that. Pearl, I'm just going to let them speak for themselves. And moderating, I guess, it's not really a debate, but asking questions with me is Karla Tai of Bow Tie Creations and the Oakland Raiders. So we are talking about things that is the hottest topic. We're talking DEI, ESG, and AI as it pertains to hiring and human resources and all of that. Is it good? Is it hurting? Is it helping? We're going to get into all that from the perspective of someone who has been in the workforce for quite a while, and someone who's our millennial that is a frequent guest. So sit back, relax, and enjoy us talking about the hottest topic that no one is talking about. All right, get ready. This is going to be a great show. Hey, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of Work Your Career Wednesday. I'm Bradley Clark, and as always, so blessed and thankful that you guys decided to tune in. And I tell you what, this is one show that you want to tune in for. I got an HR super panel today, and we're going to be talking about the pitfalls and the way hiring is different in terms of AI. Getting into DEI and ESG, and it's not a debate, but moderating with me is the one and only Karla Tai of Oakland Las Vegas Raiders fame, amongst other things, which is her credits are too long to go into. We have Pearl Jones, an HR just superstar, and she's gonna be giving her experiences, sort of the adverse. I don't know. How do you want to say it? How should I say it? The adverse
pitfalls,
of pitfalls. There we go. The pitfalls of the introduction of AI and the differences in hiring we have now. And we have another HR superstar, also of Oakland Las Vegas Raiders fame, amongst other things. We have Nicole Adams once again. Please make welcome, everybody. And thank you guys so much for doing this, really.
Welcome.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's get so Pearl, give us a little bit of an overview of your experiences with DEI and ESG and the sort of the AI, I don't know, inclusion in HR and in the hiring process.
Well, from a DEI perspective, I'm not absolutely sure that most systems have been put together in such a way where they include a DEI lens writ large. My experience has kind of been that there may be some shortfalls in terms of potential ageism, and that may really come from scrubbing a resume and certainly looking at someone's work experience as well as their educational experience. There could potentially be some gender bias based on how a system has been programmed or what kind of data it's using, maybe past data in order to make some decisions about who to include or exclude from from a hiring pool. And there was one really big study that was done that involved Amazon, and they had this supposedly supercharged AI system for recruiting, and what they found out was that the system actually discriminated against women in favor of men, again based on data analysis and looking at hiring decisions that were made in the past. So those are just a few things that come to mind.
Now, Nicole, you work with this, every day, in where you're at now, and I was really interested in getting your perspective. Now, sort of along the same lines, give us a little bit of background on your experiences.
Yeah, so with DI, like we know that it's the new hot topic, it's the new sexy word, and it's like the new thing for companies to focus on. Something that I really enjoy about the new technology that's being introduced is that we can get rid of some of the human biases. And although like it's new, right? Like you're seeing self-driving cars, and now if you go on Google search, there's like an AI thing that pops up. There's Chat GPT. All of it's new. And so, of course, there's going to be flaws that we're going to have to work out over time. But I think I would rather have some computer generated system without the human unconscious bias judge me rather than a human being who has been trained and who has work experience and all of this, that the bias is in them, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it's in them. It probably won't change because it's unconscious. They don't know. And so AI, the systems, the computer generated systems and technology that we're using right now, although not perfect, I don't think that we'll ever get it to be perfect. I think that there's a lot of good that we'll see in it that we don't necessarily get out of a human being looking at the same information. I think we might introduce more biases, such as age bias. When you see like a human being taking a look at the resume, they're looking at what year you graduated, they're looking at how many years you spent been in a company. Oh, you spend 30 years at this company. Okay, then you're probably on the other side. Oh, you graduated college in 1991. Okay, you're probably on the other side. The AI computer system's not supposed to do that. So there are, like Pearl said, there probably are some systems that are flawed, and we can fix those. But the human beings that are looking at the tech, at your resume, and looking at the information and filtering through it, there are probably a lot more biases that we have to endure when we have somebody recruiting.
So that's really interesting, and let's go on that. So if we're trying to cut bias out completely, right, then why ask the question in the first place?
That's a good question.
Very
I think
good question.
yeah, it's a great question. I personally feel that some companies, like I said, like it's a new trend. DEI is a new trend. I think some companies are doing it because it's the new thing to do without actually being informed and knowing how to use this data and how to appropriately collect the data. I myself, like when I fill out a job application, I don't like all of that information being asked on the front end. I do know, however, whenever we hire someone at my current company, we ask that information on the back end when they get hired, and I onboard everyone and I tell them, I'm getting all up in your business. These questions are invasive. The reason why I ask them is so that whenever we do something like an engagement survey, or if we have a manager survey or what have you, we're taking a look at all of the data. We're breaking it down. We're breaking it down by ages. We're breaking it down by different groups of individuals. We're making sure that we're looking at marginalized groups and seeing, are we moving the needle in the right way when it comes to DEI? Are we doing all of these programs and it really doesn't help the individuals that we're doing it for? And then on the inverse side, are we having all of these programs and alienating people who are not in marginalized groups? And so, although I think that there are some interesting ways of collecting this data that are happening right now, overall, depending on the company, depending on the HR system, we're not all made the same. I believe that there's a lot of good that can be done with the data by collecting it. Not saying that everyone's perfect, but there can be some good.
So, Nicole, I would ask you, and it may be sort of it's kind of a difficult question to answer, but you're in the HR world. You talk to other people who are doing what you're doing. If you have to take a guess, what percentage of people that you know or companies that you know of are sort of doing the work that you're doing in terms of really looking at the data, slicing it, dicing it, and then coming up with, some conclusions or at least some courses of action, to take to make sure that people are feeling included in the workplace, and then conversely, understanding how folks who are not from marginalized communities aren't being alienated. It's a two-part question. How many, if you had to make a guess, what's the percentage of organizations or actually do that?
Well, I think you're asking me a trick question here. Like, I think
not at all.
That's a good question.
It's a great question. I think it's a trick question. And because I think that a lot of people right now, like, you see DEI, this, that, and the third, and you see it everywhere, right? But you do not know the people behind the DEI, and you don't know what they're being trained on. You don't know what they think DEI is. It's diversity, equity, and inclusion. And a lot of people think of diversity as in different ethnicities. They think that if they have a percentage of Black people, percentage of Mexican people, percentage of white people, that they're diverse. And that tends to be the trend that you see when you see DEI in these companies. And so I say, like, Pearl's that trick question, because, like, we have to start at the foundation. Like, what is DEI? What is it supposed to be? And how do you view it at your company? I don't necessarily think that all companies view DEI the same. I think since it is a trend, a lot of people are trending and doing it in the wrong way. So I would first have to see, like, are they like-minded? Do they know what DEI is at its core? Or are they just trying to get someone who is eccentric and different to like meet their quota? So I can't answer that.
Well, from the reading that I've done, and actually, I agree with everything that you said, but there does seem to be some evidence that there is a lack of awareness on organizations who might be using these systems, and how they kind of define DEI, like you said, but also have a lack of knowledge about really how to interpret the data that they're getting. And if they don't have any sense of, with the system that they have, how DEI principles, if you will, are incorporated in the system, then it's almost like you're putting information in, but if you're not putting in the right information, or you're not interpreting, then there's almost, from at least the DEI perspective, there's no benefit to having the system, because what you're really getting is kind of like maybe garbage in it and garbage out. So,
But does that also?
But I do agree, what your premise and how you answered the question initially, and it was not a trick question.
Well, I have a thing, but does not also start on like a state level, especially California, right? California, you have to produce compliance sheets on what EEO1 and how many people. So does not actually start on like a state level. So these companies are now trying to meet whatever compliance they have to do in order to, like I said, meet whatever reporting, or in California, you're also getting, you can get a tax deduction. So doesn't it kind of sort of start it? A lot of companies are trending that way because of that.
Well, I think yes, but then that would also, for me, lead to question what information are states, really asking for, because kind of like what Nicole said, most people think of diversity as sort of like, race, ethnicity, and, are people, looking at neurodiversity, are they looking at, ableism, and things like that. And so we know everybody's asking the question, have you ever been disabled? Are you currently disabled? Or do you not want to provide the information? I think if I could claim that I had a prior disability, but when I am filling out those questionnaires, I say no.
Does that hold you back from getting a job?
Well, I've thought about it two ways. I'm saying, I wonder if I check the box, will that, will that help me? But I think my natural tendency towards cynicism would make me think no.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have like the opposite opinion of Pearl. I think right now being like and I think there are a lot of like what people are looking for, you never know. But I think right now, since everyone's trying to make sure that they show that they're diverse, I think it's like the best time to be a young Black woman, because I'm hitting like the gender, I'm hitting the ethnicity and the race, and then I'm like mid-aged, I'm in my 30s. And so although I do agree that like a lot of places probably have ageism, they don't want somebody that's too old, they want somebody that's too young, they want somebody right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Yeah, and then I am also neurodivergent. I have ADHD, and I also have migraines, which is considered a chronic migraines, which is considered a disability. So I check all those boxes. Hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. Because right now it's the sexy thing to do to hire someone like me that's like, yeah, you're just different enough to, like Karla said, maybe like check those compliant boxes, but not too different to where you're gonna cause trouble at the company. So right now it's like, check those boxes, girlfriend. It's a good time for you to check it.
Well,
Everybody else.
maybe the next time I will, and we'll see what happens. When you talk about the ages apart, though, you check a lot of boxes because, like you said, you're right in the middle. I'm kind of like skewed towards towards the older end, but I think I will give it a try and see what happens.
I think you do the right in the middle for the age, Pearl. What are they going to do?
Let me ask this. Both of you. There's been comments by Larry Fink, for example, of BlackRock, where the idea of DEI or ESG has been directly correlated to their investment in a particular firm. So then there are companies that are checking these boxes so they can get the money from these companies. So let me ask you this. I get the checking the boxes about being different or whatever. I get that. How do you think that impacts a company's, I wouldn't say productivity, but how do you think it affects their bottom line? And are they doing it beyond a state level, but because they're trying to check that box to get the money from the investment firm?
You have so many different layers to this. You have people who are probably very well intentioned, but a little ignorant to what DEI actually is. And when they get these people who are different in their companies, like what are they doing to keep them and make them feel included? And then you have people who are not well intentioned, who want to check boxes so that they can get something from it. And you can't tell the difference between the two. You have to do your research, you have to do your homework, but you won't be able to tell unless you go in and speak to the employees and say, hey, like there's 20% diversity in your ethnic group and like there's 30% LGBTQ plus. Like, let me talk to those people and see how they're feeling at your company. People are not willing to do that. People are not willing to put the hard work in. And I mean, it's most of us in the US, like we're lazy. If we can get something easy, we're going to take the easy route. So it takes a lot of effort and energy to educate yourself on what DEI truly is, and to like go and educate yourself on these companies.
And I guess part of my response would be to that is, so they check the boxes so that they can get the money. But then if you have accepted the money, what is your investor doing in terms of follow-up to see kind of like what your retention rates are? Because you've hired people and you may have hired a good bit of people this year, but out of that group of so-called diverse people, how many have you been able to retain over a year, 2 years, 3 years? I mean, that's kind of like a different way to look at it, or maybe a different question to ask the investor as opposed to the person who's trying.
Well, I think he's been very clear about it. His statements have been that if companies aren't going to do it, we're going to force them to do it. And that leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Everybody's mouth.
Right. Particularly if you're on one side of the fence that may not check all those boxes. So I guess you're going to be, for lack of a better term, discriminated against because you don't check all those boxes. But if you do check some of those boxes, well, hold on. If you do check some of those boxes, then you're put at the bottom of the pile because, you have heart disease. I mean, there are things on there that are, I mean, next month they'll put on, hangnails. Do you have hangnails? Okay. So is that a disability now?
Is that a chronic problem? I mean,
could be. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's a chronic problem for me. I have one right now. It really sucks. But but my point is that, and I want to get into this because I'm talking, we got 3 people on here, and Karla and I don't know if we're going to be moderators or anything really, but you guys developed the foundations of DEI where you guys, you know what I'm saying? Like when it started. And I think we got to get to the definition of what that actually is.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
So Pearl, if you wouldn't mind, please. What was DEI when the conception of it came about?
Well, for me and the work that I did in DEI directly, it was very early on. When it was just called, I forget what, I guess it was called diversity and equity at the time. And so the real focus really was on how companies were attracting women and people of color writ large, and looking at their employee population, sort of what could they do to increase or enhance their recruitment efforts so that, if you want to call people from underrepresented or marginalized communities, were accounted for, or, being able to reach out to. And what I found to be very interesting is, no one ever wanted to talk about quotas. And the push really seemed to be able to bring people in. But there was no real thought then about, the inclusion people. So yeah, we can get them in the door, and that should just, that's what our goal, that's what our focus is. No one ever really thought very much about what we might need to do in terms of changing our practices so that people, we felt included, and that they, and that they belonged. My own experience was really just trying to start conversations and, break down barriers, with, with folks in an organization, and sometimes trying to have management take a really deep look at what they were doing and what they said they wanted to do and what they might need to change in order to get to the place that they said they wanted to be at.
Interesting. Nicole?
Right now, I feel like people are focusing on the wrong things instead of focusing on diversity, equity, inclusion. Because right now, like when you, and I talked about this last time, I think extremes to any end is not a good thing. And right now, with diversity, equity, inclusion being a trend, it takes away the importance and the reason why it was established. And like Karla mentioned, laws, I think a lot of the laws are flawed. I think that a lot of the laws themselves are written to check a box, but not really caring about when these companies get these diverse or people in their companies, like, are they treating them right? No, but you have a law that says they have to have them. And so I think laws are flawed. We can talk all day about that, but we're focusing on the wrong things instead of focusing on the ethnic backgrounds and marginalized groups and things like that. You should be focusing on hiring the right candidate and taking out biases. That's the purpose of DEI. It's supposed to be for you to take out biases, find the right fit, find the right culture fit, find the right person, whether it's a white male or a Black woman like myself. It should be the right person. It should be the right fit despite anything else. And right now we're trending in the wrong direction because we're making everything about ethnic groups and calling that diverse when we actually should be focused on just hiring the right person and taking out biases. And that's where I hope that the technology that we're using right now will help us to get there, because right now I think humans have it in their minds that like we're supposed to be helping you people and making sure that we have diverse people, which means we need to have someone with a disability and we need to have somebody who's LGBTQ plus, and like that's not what it is. It's not what it was meant for. That's not what it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be making sure that we're not discriminating against people, and right now we're doing kind of the opposite of that and discriminating against people who do not fit in these marginalized groups. So, and then the people in the marginalized groups don't trust what you're doing anyway. So you're kind of just like, you're just alienating everyone.
Yeah, and
that.
It's almost like like we're talking about marginalized groups, and then everybody becomes marginalized. You know what I mean? So those are great points. Those are great points. Karla, do you have a question?
No, I mean, along with what Nicole says, it's like, yeah, I think we're definitely trending in the wrong direction, because as you asked when we first started, it's like, and Nicole can attest to it, Nicole and I did it where we were at sports team was, I mean, we took our pronouns, we made it about biases. We took everything out. We took the pronouns out. We took the names out. We focused on the right fit, the experience, the culture. And that was where we started. So, I mean, you've got to take out all of these other things. Here's the job. Can the person do the job? It doesn't matter who they are, what they look like. If they've got a disability, it's like, are they the most experienced? If you're trying to find different backgrounds, you post where you're going to get a diverse background, right? That's where you go. That's where you start, is those places. So,
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and with AI, and it's a question that I had for both you and for Nicole and Pearl, as we're going down the road of AI, how does that affect mental health? Sorry, I just threw it out there.
Well, here's a question that I would ask, or maybe something that I would posit. So we're talking about, a lot about diversity, equity, inclusion, and what it means and how people are perverting it and all of that. But how about if companies really focused on how they treat their employees once they have come in the door and throughout their life cycle? I mean, one would think if a company is really walking the walk and talking the talk, we all know that there's going to be some disgruntled employees. But by and large, if companies are doing what they're supposed to do, taking DEI, out of it for the moment, they should really be creating workplaces where people feel seen, valued, and heard. Something that, Karla and Nicole and I have, quite a bit. So it's just kind of like another take, on some of the questions that we have been grappling with and answering.
What's the reliance on AI? I'm not sure if you guys look at this, but there's been a Stanford study and a UC Berkeley study exploring, and I'm reading this out of Business Insider, exploring how ChatGPT's behavior has changed over time, and found the performance of the chatbot's underlying 3.5 and 4 AI models. There's a great it varies pretty hardcore. In other words, it's becoming stupider as more people start using it. And so my question is if we're relying on things like AI for the purposes of taking out biases, isn't it pretty, because, people make AI and people are using AI, they're able to steer it to where they want it to go, as opposed to having it have a concrete foundation. So in other words, you can take out if you're thinking of it in a human perspective, the underlying biases or unconscious biases.
Right.
But if you take that out, and like, for example, what you guys did at the football team, where you're consciously taking out as much bias as you possibly can, wouldn't that be a healthier way? Because for finding people, at least, where as much as we possibly can in terms of the recruiting aspect of bringing people in. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think it makes perfect sense. And I think being someone who is not completely for and not completely against, I would say the technology is meant to meet us where we are on some level. It's meant to elevate us and make things easier, but it's also going to come down to our level. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that it is going to elevate us in a way, but it's not going to go too far and be too much to where we can't grasp what's happening. It's not going to move and be light years ahead of where we are. And because we're still learning and growing and developing when it comes to technology, just as human beings. I know, like myself, being a millennial, I think the next generation is like Gen Z, they're probably way more established in technology than I am. And as every other generation is further removed from technology, they have a lot of catching up to do. There's a lot of learning gaps. And so the technology that we have now is meant to elevate us in such a way that doesn't keep us alienated and stuck in a way that we can't grow and can't catch up to where things are trending to.
But does it elevate us?
I believe so. I mean, there's going to be bugs, and there's going to be, like, there were self-driving cars in San Francisco that were stopping and blocking traffic, but there's also people that are killing people in the crosswalks every day. And so you have to take the good with the bad. And I think something that I like to see people do, like, we could complain and talk about the things that we hate all day, but like, what are we actually doing to improve those things? I don't like hearing about what is wrong with the world and what's wrong with AI and what's wrong with this without solutions. Like, don't bring me problems. Carly used to tell me this all the time. Don't bring me problems. Bring me solutions.
Great solution.
Well, I think that's one of the problems.
To elaborate on Nicole's point, if you're talking about elevating and making better, folks have to be paying attention, because if, at least the way that I understand it, whether it's AI or, chat, whatever it is, it what it really is giving, or how it grows, is based on sort of the information that it's gathering from what people say and what people do. So, to Nicole's point, if you really see something it's like outrageous or it's not elevating, someone has to be paying attention to even notice it, and then to really think about, well, what do I need to do differently in terms of how I am informing what this product, what this tool is spitting out.
So I like Nicole's point. It's meant to elevate us, not eliminate us.
Right.
I've always said that as long as there are people doing jobs, people are going to have to do the heavy lifting. Right. So with that, what do you think about people in what we do? Right. So recruiter, 23 years, HR superstars on this panel. Are any of the developers or anybody involved in this technology asking any of us what we think? Or is it all kind of going on what society is saying right now? The trend,
Well,
for example, that
well,
Nicole's talking
Bradley,
about.
I think that's actually part of the point. So where are developers getting their information in order to do this? Like, who are they checking with? But conversely, when people are looking at systems and are thinking about, implementing them, what kind of questions are they asking the vendor about, what this thing really does? How is it learning? How is it learning to make us better? And really having a focused set of questions to ask before you choose the tool. Because if in fact these things do learn based on what their users do, maybe their users need to be able to ask some questions so that they will know what they should be choosing to use and not. And then really, in a way, then using the tool so it could elevate. Or as Nicole says, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. And so I guess that's my long way of saying is that one of the solutions is some of the responsibility is on the developer, but I think a lot of the responsibility is on the people who are using, who are making benefit of it. And it does raise the question about how much do they know about what they're supposed to know in order to get a system that is going to give them the best chance of being innovative.
Nicole?
I think we need to stop being afraid to have these difficult conversations. We need to stop following trends because the trends are based on what people think everyone wants. But if we're all sitting here with different opinions and different experiences, but we agree that like there's some things that are flawed, then we probably shouldn't be just blindly following this new technology. We probably should be sitting down in rooms like this, having conversations. We should have the difficult conversations. And I think we shouldn't be afraid to have those. And we also shouldn't be afraid to talk to people with different opinions. Like I had someone that I was dating, he was a white male, and he told me that it was hard in the US, the hardest for the white male. And he said it was because all of these trends that are happening with DEI, that people were alienating the white male and like blaming the white male for everything. And it's white male dominated this, and we need to uplift ethnic people that. And I was livid when he said that. Like him and I had a really heavy disagreement, and it didn't end well. But I think looking back on that situation, those are the kind of conversations we need to have, because I took from that conversation, okay, maybe there are some problems. Like maybe we're trending in the wrong way. Maybe instead of trying to check the boxes for these ethnic people, maybe we shouldn't be alienating the white male and alienating people who don't fit in these marginalized groups, because like you had alluded to earlier, Bradley, then everybody's going to be marginalized. And so I think like those conversations we need to have, and although it might anger us and it might piss some people off, we need to have them, and we need to be open to listening to other viewpoints and open to figure out solutions. Like, okay, you feel upset by this technology, I feel upset by it, but I feel like we're going in a healthier direction. How can we come in the middle?
Isn't that what diversity is, though? Wide range.
Right. And how often do we change our minds without being a little ticked off? You know what I mean?
Time. Yeah, it takes some time. This happened 2 years ago, and I was like it up until like last year.
I mean, if you think about it, there's no change happens without a little bit of disagreement,
right? Or discomfort,
or discomfort, right? And I think I love that, and I love that point. Gosh, I'd go off on. I want to do this all day long, because these are the kind of conversation. Nicole, you hit it right on the head, and this is why we're doing the show today, is because no one is talking about this. You have publications like Business Insider that they lean one way, And then you have, I don't know, other publications that lean another way. And all it is fighting. It's not coming to any solution. It's just yelling in an echo chamber. So this publication can get everybody that agrees with them, and this publication get everybody agrees with them. And then at the end of the day, we can all just fight. And that's not going to do anything for anybody. So I want to wrap this up. Pearl, I'm going to have you close it. But Nicole, if you could give us some takeaways that maybe you gained today or throughout your experience in actually talking about this particular topic.
From me, I gained the insight that knowledge is power. And I think that I shouldn't be afraid to educate myself on the other side's opinion. Like, we have different opinions on the way technology is trending and how we should use that technology, different opinions on like recruiting and what sorts of questions should be asked in applications. But I shouldn't be so held to my guns and what I believe in that I'm afraid to research the other side, because that's how we're going to end up creating change that works for all of us. And so like from this, I take away being able to educate myself on things that I may feel uncomfortable with or disagree with. Knowledge is power. And instead of just going with trends, what are the flaws, where the holes, what can I do to help us have a more healthy understanding of DEI, making sure that we're moving forward in a better way. Like, we all play a role in that, and what can I do to make sure that we're not just staying the same?
If I were to close us out, I would actually thank all of us who are on the panel. I think that I learned a lot. I think actually hearing different sides of a question and having some conversations about it is very important. And I think that it's something that should be done more often amongst different groups of people who are involved in, recruiting as well as, DEI. And to Nicole's point, really come to it with an open mind, necessarily be so stuck on, what I think, but maybe really just opening up one's mind to really consider other people's opinions, and then really work hard towards addressing some of the issues that have been identified.
I got to tell you, when I brought this idea to Karla, and we developed this idea for the show. I didn't imagine it going as amazingly well as it did. I think if everyone can use this sort of forum as a model, I truly believe that change can happen and that technology can adapt in the correct ways to where, people aren't doing things to be marginalized in order to check those boxes. We can get back to sort of the way we should hire. So I learned a lot. Thank you guys so much for participating in this. I don't know, maybe we should do this again. Maybe we should make it like a trend. If we,
not do trends, but I'm all for it.
Hey, you know what? If it's not us, then who? Right. And
if
so
not now, when?
That's right. And I got to tell you, I appreciate you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so very, very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
White Husky Films. Dream, create, record. We create ads and promos for your business. We can promote your video on television, Facebook, YouTube, Hulu, and more. We do a full Google SEO analysis for you with any plan. Call us today at 305-744-1444 or visit our website at whitehuskyfilms.com. White Husky Films.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Hey, if you like Work Your Career Wednesday and want to be notified every single time we have a new episode, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Smash it. Get a hammer and get it. And
Yeah, that's fine.
Too much?
No, that's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I love it. People want.
Do you hear Steven in the background? I was just making sure I'm going to be okay. But get that notification going. And hey, we will be letting you know, or I guess YouTube will be letting you know, when the next Work Your Career Wednesday is on. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Man, ding it, ring it, sling it, and bing it. All right? And we will see you soon. Work Your Career Wednesday. Oh, great. I'm glad you stopped by. Be sure to get that subscription bell, and I'll see you there.